Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me today for this video where I'll be talking about the High Priestess archetype. So let's get started. I've actually been wanting to make this video for quite a while now. I have felt the High Priestess and Priestess lineage stirring within me, within my soul, and coming slowly more and more to the forefront. And I've been connecting more with other women who resonate with this archetype, and I felt as though it was time for me to share my thoughts, my feelings, and my soul understanding of this archetype. So for some of you, this may resonate really deeply, and you may feel as though you really do connect with the priestess lineage. And for others, this may not resonate, in which case, thank you so much for watching, and please do share it with anybody whom you feel may actually like it. But if you are enjoying this video, then do let me know by liking it or by leaving your comments, because I always love connecting with like-minded souls. So as I say, I have been feeling this stirring of the priestess and the high priestess lineage within me. I've had visions of past lives where I was a priestess, and I've also been told about past lives through Akashic readings. And I also have been very drawn to the divine feminine, to the goddess, and to that way of life. And anybody who knows me will very readily say that I am definitely 100% feminine, girly, angelic, light energy. My friend who is an astrologist, Nicolette, always says that I am a typical Libran because I am whiter than white light, which is perhaps why I'm so drawn to silver, because it's so shiny. So I first started to connect with and understand the High Priestess or the Priestess, and I am going to only use those two words because, as I say, I resonate so much more with the divine feminine, and I definitely think if you're looking to work with me, I would probably be looking to work with people who are females or resonate and feel aligned with being a woman or divine feminine energy. So I don't use those terms to dismiss priests and high priests, it's just that this video is specifically about high priestesses and priestesses. So as I say, I first became aware of this through client sessions. I noticed a theme with people. As I've said in videos before, quite often you give readings to people who reflect some element or an energy that you have. And one energy that I do have is the 5. And I've mentioned this energy a couple of times, and that's probably because I have had so many clients with this energy. It makes sense for me to share that because I feel as though those people are basically my ideal client, and I absolutely love working with them. So initially what I noticed about the 5 is people who had multiple 5s. So if you just have a 14-5, this may not resonate so much. You may have a 5-5 and you may not resonate with this. That's okay. This video is quite specific. But I noticed that people with 5-5s, multiples of, so we're talking 3 or 4 5s, really resonated with the archetypal hermit. So if you caught my video last week, I spoke in depth about the hermit archetype, but then I started to notice something different, a shift within that. And as I mentioned in last week's video, in Soul Plan we refer to it as the wise woman or man who would have lived on the edge of the forest and given healings or readings or whatever to those in the village, because the 5 is meant to be the bridge between the divine and the rest of society. And this got me thinking that actually another interpretation of that bridge would have been the High Priestess, and therefore filtered down to the Priestesses. Of course, this does include High Priest and priests. But I noticed that actually there was a theme. I was seeing a lot of women with 5s, multiples of 5s in their charts, who resonated with the hermit energy, but in a slightly different way to what I would have typically expected. What I also noticed is these clients also tended to have a 9 in their chart. So there was some kind of aspect where they were needing to reclaim their power and stand their ground, their sacred ground within their power, to act as this bridge to serve. And the 9 is very much a serving energy. And it just occurred to me that the 5 actually can really resonate with people whom have had past lives as a high priestess or a priestess. And this got me thinking about my own chart, my own journey, and I started to realize how strongly I resonated with that concept. And so I meditated on it and let that come through a bit more before launching into it. And I recognize it very much felt like my truth. So of course, what do I mean when I talk about a high priestess and a priestess? Well, firstly, there definitely is a difference. Now, a high priestess obviously would have been the top of the order, the leader if you like. Now that doesn't mean that she's better or worse than anybody else, it just means that she has completed the initiations and trainings required to get to that stage where she is fully pure, fully connected, and fully able to embody and channel and be the vessel for the divine. Whereas a priestess obviously is still in training. And of course it takes many, many lifetimes to go through those priestess trainings to become a high priestess. And so it's likely that there are fewer high priestesses than there are priestesses. And just because we don't live in times where we typically have, if you think back to Lemurian or Atlantean times, or even ancient Egypt, for example, the high priestess would have been very important within society, but within society these days, perhaps due to organised religion, perhaps due to the way that the patriarchy has come to the top, women have been kind of cut out of religious or devotional work in the way that they used to be actually included and quite prominent. So you may still be training as a priestess in this particular lifetime, in your next lifetime, and then you may complete everything you need to become a high priestess. Alternatively, you may have already done all of the work and you may have become a high priestess in ancient times or in a past life or in this lifetime, in which case, again, you may be feeling that high priestess, being called to lead other women in a devotional, sacred, ritualistic way. So this is why there are a lot more women's circles in society and within the spiritual community at the moment, which, as you know, I love sisterhood, so I'm very happy and excited to see this. So the second question is, how do I confirm if I am a priestess or a high priestess? Firstly, always check in with your own channel, your own intuition, and if you haven't yet reclaimed your power and haven't learned how to work with your channel, then of course you can seek coaching or counseling or guidance from somebody else who identifies as a high priestess or priestess. And there are many wonderful courses out there, and if I can find some links, I will put them in the description box for you as always. The second thing that you can do is have a reading. Now this could either be an Akashic Records reading, and again there are many wonderfully talented people out there who can read the records. You can do your own research, but again I will put some of the people I resonate with in the description box below. You can also have a soul plan reading. As I say, if you have this 5-5 multiple times, if you have a 9 and a couple of other energies that I feel work well together to demonstrate that archetype, then again, you may wish to book in for a session with me if you're resonating and enjoying this video. So what is the origin of a priestess and a high priestess? Well, this is the interesting thing. I have noticed that there's a real correlation between priestesses and witches. Now there's two answers to this. So if you resonate just with the witch, then this means that you've only incarnated in a lifetime as a witch. Whereas if you resonate with the high priestess or the priestess, then it may be that you are a slightly older soul and perhaps you incarnated in Lemuria or Atlantis, as I say, ancient Egypt or ancient Greece, and you may well have worked in the temples in those times as a priestess in training and then perhaps eventually became a high priestess, or perhaps unfortunately with the fall of Lemuria or Atlantis you weren't able to continue your studies, to continue the initiations and the trainings that you needed to go through in order to become that high priestess, and so you have continued to incarnate throughout history up until now. And then you're watching this video, and what happened over time and historically is, as I say, women were pushed out of organized religions, mainly in the Western world. However, what happened was these women, instead of having a structured temple, they practice outside within the woods, deeply connected to Mother Nature. And this is when the witch archetype arose, because women who were pushed out of being the priestess and the high priestess role found another way to use their divine connection and the bridge that they had to heal and to help and to serve other people by taking it outside. So if you resonate with the high priestess or the priestess, then it is likely you're an older soul who originated from perhaps Lemuria, Atlantis, Avalon, ancient Greece, or ancient Egypt, for example. These are the only words that are coming to my mind at the moment as I'm just saying this off the cuff. And as a result, you will perhaps even in this lifetime be continuing that priestess training, or you will be awakening to the high priestess within you and looking to create a group, a circle, a course, something to connect with other priestesses so that they can continue their training. However, if you only resonate with the witch archetype, then perhaps you only became incarnate, you're a slightly younger soul, still old but not as old, and perhaps you only came in, for example, in medieval times when the witch trials were around, or just a bit before then, and therefore your soul is purely the witch archetype and you're continuing your training perhaps in the occult or in Wicca or some kind of angelic witchcraft. But if you resonate with both the priestess or high priestess and the witch archetype, then it is very likely that you are one of the original priestesses or high priestesses from ancient times who reincarnated during the times of the witch and did so believing that they could continue their training, but of course, unfortunately, with what happened, they were unable to, and now they have come back into this lifetime, or whatever lifetime it is when you happen to watch this video. So if you resonate with both, then that is likely where your soul has incarnated and originated from. So of course the next question is, what does it mean to be a priestess or a high priestess, or of course if you feel connected to a witch? Well, if you only align with the witch archetype, then my suggestion is definitely going to be to connect more with herbs, with plants, with crystals, with candles. Look more into spells, connect more with other witches, and maybe join a coven. And I happen to know a really great coven which you can of course join, so I will again put details about that in the description box below. However, if you resonate with both the priestess, high priestess and witch archetype, or just the priestess and the high priestess archetype, then these are some tips that may be useful for you to connect more with that and channel and embody that energy a bit more. So firstly, everything about being a priestess and a high priestess is connected to rituals. Everything becomes sacred, and nowadays, as my good friend Violetta says, everything can be your temple. So you're recreating that sacred space in your room, in your home, in your office, wherever you may be working from or operating and embodying that space from. Now, these rituals may be something you wish to completely channel yourself for what works for you. However, some things that you may find as a common theme that I have found is usually there'll be some kind of morning ritual or practice. So of course a high priestess and priestesses would have meditated every morning and every evening, probably even throughout the day, depending on which temple they worked in order to receive the divine guidance and wisdom they needed to share or to bring through healing modalities, etc. And in order to get into that space of meditation, they would need to cleanse and clear their aura, their chakras. So they may well have worked on their chakra system. They may well have worked with Palo Santo or crystals or white sage to smudge and clear their energy, and of course the energy of the temple around. And if you ever need confirmation of how powerful that is, just look at churches in nowadays, and they still use incense and burn incense to clear and purify. And then of course there may well be some kind of group session where the priestesses and high priestesses would have come together and discussed what they had received in their meditations. Perhaps they all received the same thing and therefore it's a very strong message for the people they are working with, or perhaps they received an element of a healing modality that they could share and work together to create and bring through. But of course teamwork, sisterhood would have been very powerful and important for these women. And if you haven't already got that space, that tribe, that sisterhood, then start with journaling, start with writing down the messages you're receiving, what you're seeing in your visions when you're meditating, and then you can move forwards and search for women's circles. And if there aren't any women's circles near you, you can either find them online or you can create your own and start to attract and manifest the right people to connect with you and join. So as I mentioned in last week's video, the high priestess or priestess archetype would link quite nicely to the hermit, because of course priestesses and priests would have needed to have been on the outskirts of the society or the village or the town, wherever they were, in order to keep themselves pure. They weren't there to be involved in everyday life. That wasn't what they were there for. They were there to be the bridge to the divine spokesperson. And so it's all about keeping their energy pure. So if you resonate as well with that hermit archetype, it's probably because your soul is recognizing that you're here to lead perhaps a group of people. And again, that could be connected to the rest of the energies in your soul plan chart to answer that question. And so you may be feeling called to separate yourself, not because you don't like people or you don't want to be around them, but because you are a highly sensitive person with a very strong connection to the divine who needs to share the messages they are receiving. Now this could be through written word, could be a book, it could be a blog, it could be through videos like this one, or it could be through a course you may teach, or it could be through some group work or a circle that you might lead, a retreat that you might lead. But it's very much about entering into society when you need to serve, when you've received a message you need to share, and then of course withdrawing to cleanse and purify yourself and be in that state of purity to receive the messages that you are here to receive. Now, if you don't resonate with the idea of being creative through writing or speech or videos, then it could also be that you're here to create pieces of art or creative pioneering pieces of work. I can't tell you what that is, because if you're pioneering something, then it has to come from you, and it comes from you via the divine. So keeping your channel open and pure when you are ready to connect, and then closing yourself down properly so you can detach, relax, and ground and live in your human life as you may need to, because unfortunately we do need to pay the bills. Another ritual that you may find is important to you is dressing up. Now this could be something that came up in your childhood and you thought, well, I've always loved dressing up. Maybe that was just because that's what kids do. But actually what I find is true for me, and you may well resonate with, is that I have to get dressed in a certain way in order to embody that element of myself for when I give readings or when I do these videos. So I don't look like this on an everyday basis, of course, unless you go out for dinner with me, in which case I will probably look like this. However, on the whole, if I'm at home, it's sweatpants and a jumper, and if I'm going into town, it'll just be some ripped jeans and probably another jumper. I do love for jumpers. And so when I'm wearing those clothes, I am not in the space to give a session or healing. Absolutely not. And it's really important that you recognize times when you're not open and you are closed down properly and appropriately, so that you're not continuously picking up things that don't belong to you or aren't serving you or that you don't need to be connecting with. Because as with any kind of employment, when you're employed in this role, of course, you have time off, you have weekends off, right? Whereas when I do a session or when I do videos like this, I like to dress in the role I feel is connected to the video I'm making in order to embody that energy. So in this energy, in this outfit, I feel I am embodying my priestess or high priestess archetype, whereas in the sweatpants that I'll change into after this video, I'm embodying everyday Marilyse. So the act of placing the jewelry upon you, wearing any gemstones, or any temporary tattoos. You guys know I love a temporary tattoo if you follow me on Instagram. And in the past, I just used to think that was a self-love ritual, but now I'm recognizing that actually it's part of that priestess lineage. You know, putting sacred oils on your body. Every morning I dry brush. It's getting yourself in that space. I even really love to brush my teeth before I have a client session, even if the session is online. Something about it just makes me feel very clean and very pure. And of course, priestesses would have bathed and they would have anointed their bodies. So looking at how you are cleansing yourself physically as well as your aura and your chakras, and how you are dressing yourself in sacred oils or scents or jewelry and crystals, anything that's going to help you step into that embodied role and what you feel is part of your ritual to become and embody that space. So another ritual may well be dancing or singing, mostly chanting. Definitely you'll find that priestesses would have used sound in order to cleanse. So sound healing will be very important to you if you resonate with the 5 especially. And dancing, moving the body, expressing and moving anything that may be stagnant energy within you and releasing it and getting into that space of joy. Because even though you are here to serve as a priestess or a high priestess, you're not here to do it in a really miserable way. You of course are here to embody the joy that the divine actually is, the love, the joy, the truth that the divine is. So you need to be able to embody that for yourself as well as when you're in that space. So dance will be very important. I do feel as though I could talk about this topic forever, so thank you so much for listening. I have really enjoyed sharing this video with you today and having the opportunity to dress up, because I love that. I love getting into that space, and as I say, this high priestess archetype is coming very strongly for me at the moment, and this is possibly something I'll be working with a lot more in the future. So if you are interested, do stay tuned for that. So don't forget to subscribe. So make sure you check out all of the links in the description box below, and thank you so much for watching.